The champagne-colored envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning, sliding through the mail slot of Elena Rivera's cramped studio apartment in Brooklyn like a ghost from her past. She knew what it was before she even picked it up. The expensive paper stock, the embossed gold lettering, the faint scent of jasmine perfume. Her hands trembled slightly as she tore it open. Jason Matthews and Victoria Ashford request the pleasure of your company at their wedding celebration. Elena stared at the invitation for a long moment, feeling the familiar ache in her chest. 3 years. 3 years of planning a future together, of late-night conversations about the house they would buy, the children they would have, the life they would build. All of it had evaporated 8 months ago when Jason decided she was not the right fit for the ambitious future he envisioned. You have got to be kidding me, Mia Chen, her best friend and roommate, snatched the invitation from her hands. He actually invited you to watch him marry that spoiled hotel heiress. The audacity of this man. Elena collapsed onto their thrift store couch, running her fingers through her dark brown hair. Victoria Ashford. Daughter of Richard Ashford, who owns half the luxury hotels on the East Coast. Of course Jason upgraded. Mia's expression softened as she sat beside Elena. You are not seriously considering going to this wedding. Not after everything you have been through this year. Everything was an understatement. 6 months ago, Elena had invested her entire savings, nearly $200,000, into opening an interior design boutique with her former college roommate. The partnership had crashed and burned spectacularly when her partner vanished, leaving Elena holding all the debt. Now she could barely make rent, collection agencies called daily, and her credit cards were maxed out from trying to keep her business afloat before it collapsed. I am going, Elena said quietly, lifting her chin with determination. I am going to prove that I have moved on, that I am fine, that he did not break me. Elena, you are drowning in debt. Your bank account has $37. You cannot afford a dress for a wedding like this, let alone the trip to Miami. But Elena had already made up her mind. Something in her, perhaps pride or desperation or simply the burning need to reclaim a shred of dignity, pushed her forward. I will figure it out. 2 weeks later, Elena stood in front of the mirror at an upscale boutique in Manhattan, wearing a dress that cost more than her monthly rent. The emerald green silk hugged her curves perfectly, the plunging neckline and open back revealing just enough to be elegant rather than provocative. It was stunning, and it was going to destroy what little remained of her financial stability. Absolutely perfect, the sales associate gushed, already calculating her commission. Elena handed over her credit card, feeling sick as she imagined the interest accumulating on the purchase. But she could not show up at Jason's wedding looking like the failure everyone expected her to be. The Fontainebleau Miami Beach was a monument to excess and luxury. Palm trees swayed in the ocean breeze, and the late afternoon sun cast golden light across the white sand beach where the ceremony would take place. Elena arrived in an Uber she could not afford, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribcage. As she stepped into the outdoor venue, she felt the stares immediately. 400 guests turned to look at her, their expressions ranging from surprise to poorly concealed pity. She recognized faces from Jason's social circle, his colleagues from the investment firm, the wealthy elite who had always made her feel like an outsider. Well, a voice dripped with false sweetness behind her. Elena Rivera. How brave of you to attend. Elena turned to face Rita Matthews, Jason's mother, a woman who had never bothered to hide her disappointment in her son's choice of girlfriend. Rita was dressed in a pale pink designer suit, her silver hair styled perfectly, her smile sharp as a knife. Mrs. Matthews, Elena managed, keeping her voice steady. Thank you for the invitation. Oh, darling, we had to invite you. Jason insisted. Rita's eyes traveled over Elena's dress with thinly veiled contempt. After all, you were such an important part of his past. Before he found his true calling, of course. Before he met someone who could actually match his ambitions. The word stung like acid, but Elena forced herself to smile. I wish him all the happiness." "How generous," Rita replied, her tone suggesting it was anything but. "I heard about your little business venture. Such a shame. But I suppose not everyone is cut out for entrepreneurship. Perhaps you should have stuck to something more suitable for your background." Before Elena could respond, music began to play. The wedding march. Guests hurried to their seats, and Elena found herself relegated to the very back row, naturally. She sat down, back straight, chin up, refusing to let anyone see how much this hurt. Victoria Ashford appeared at the end of the white silk aisle, a vision in French lace and diamonds. Blonde, tanned, perfect. She glided forward on her father's arm like a queen approaching her coronation. And there at the altar stood Jason, looking more polished and confident than Elena had ever seen him. His eyes met Victoria's with calculated adoration. "He never looked at me like that," Elena realized, and the thought was devastating. The ceremony began with all the pomp one would expect from a union between two wealthy families. The officiant spoke about love, commitment, partnership. Every word felt like mockery. Elena gripped her clutch so tightly her knuckles turned white, fighting back tears that threatened to ruin her carefully applied makeup. "If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace." The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. Elena felt several pairs of eyes glance in her direction, waiting, hoping for drama. She kept her gaze fixed straight ahead, determined not to give them the satisfaction. Then, loud enough for everyone to hear, Rita Matthews's voice rang out from the front row. "Thank goodness Jason found a woman of real substance this time. Someone worthy of the Matthews family name." The collective gasp that rippled through the crowd was followed by a terrible, crushing silence. 400 pairs of eyes turned to Elena. Some faces showed malicious glee, others uncomfortable pity, but all carried the same message. "You do not belong here." Elena felt the world tilt. The pristine white chairs, the flower arrangements, the ocean backdrop, all of it blurred. She needed to leave. Right now. She began to stand, her legs shaking, when a firm hand landed on her waist. "Apologies for being late, my love," a deep, commanding voice said beside her. The meeting in Boston ran longer than expected. Elena turned her head and found herself looking up at the most striking man she had ever seen. He stood at least 6 feet 3 inches tall, with broad shoulders filling out a perfectly tailored navy suit. His dark hair was styled back, revealing a strong jawline and amber eyes that gleamed with predatory intelligence. There was something dangerous about him, something that suggested he was used to getting exactly what he wanted. Before Elena could process what was happening, he pulled her close and kissed her. It was not gentle. It was possessive, claiming, deliberate. His lips were warm and firm, one hand cradling the back of her neck while the other remained on her waist. The world exploded into sensation, his expensive cologne, the texture of his suit, the heat radiating from his body. When he pulled back, the entire wedding had fallen into stunned silence. Even the officiant stood frozen, mouth slightly open. Traffic from the airport was murder, the stranger continued casually, as if he had not just turned 400 lives upside down. "You know how I feel about being late to important events." Elena stared at him, completely paralyzed. Who was this man? Then the whispers started, rippling through the crowd like wildfire. "Is that Damien Cross? The Damien Cross? The real estate mogul? He is worth billions. What is he doing here? Is he really with her?" The stranger, Damien Cross apparently, offered his hand to Elena with a slight smile. "Shall we, darling? We still have that dinner reservation in South Beach." Operating on pure instinct, Elena took his hand. His fingers closed over hers with confident possession. Together, they walked down the center aisle, past stunned guests, past Rita Matthews whose face had gone pale, past Jason who watched them with an expression of complete disbelief, past Victoria who looked absolutely furious that her moment had been stolen. Damien Cross did not look at any of them. He led Elena through the venue with the casual authority of a man who owned the world. A sleek black car was waiting outside, a driver holding the door open. Damien helped Elena inside, then slid in beside her. The car pulled away from the Fontainebleau, leaving the chaos behind. Silence filled the vehicle for several long moments. Elena's heart was racing, her mind spinning with confusion and shock. Finally, she found her voice. "Who are you? Why did you do that?" Damien turned to face her, and for the first time, a small smile touched his lips. "Damien Cross. And as for why I did that, let us just say I have a proposition for you, Elena Rivera. One that could change both of our lives." The penthouse overlooking Central Park was the kind of place Elena had only seen in architecture magazines. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed Manhattan glittering like a sea of diamonds below. The interior was all clean lines and expensive minimalism, Italian marble floors, contemporary art on white walls, furniture that probably cost more than her failed business. Everything screamed wealth and power. Elena stood in the living room, still wearing the emerald green dress, feeling completely out of place. Her mind was still reeling from what had happened at the wedding. The kiss. The escape. The mysterious billionaire who had just upended her entire world. Damien poured 2 glasses of amber liquid from a crystal decanter and handed one to her. "Drink. You look like you need it." Elena accepted with trembling hands and took a sip. The whiskey burned going down but helped clear some of the fog. "You need to explain what just happened. Right now." Damien settled onto a leather sofa, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp and calculating. In the soft lighting, he was even more imposing. Strong features, the bearing of someone born to command, those amber eyes that seemed to see right through her. "I will be direct," he began, his tone purely businesslike. "I need a girlfriend. A fake one, but convincing. For 6 months." Elena blinked. "What?" "My business partners have been pressuring me for 3 years to settle down. They want me married, starting a family, projecting stability for investors and shareholders." He said the words with barely concealed contempt. "They have been trying to arrange a match with Natasha Volkov, daughter of my biggest competitor. A corporate merger disguised as romance. And you do not want that?" "Absolutely not." His voice turned to ice. "I do not accept being manipulated. I do not form alliances through arranged marriages. But I need to get them off my back. The only way is to present a girlfriend serious enough to satisfy them temporarily." Elena took another sip of whiskey, trying to process this absurdity. "Why me? You just met me." "Actually, I did not." Damien picked up a tablet from the coffee table and turned it toward her. The screen displayed a detailed file. Elena Rivera, 29, interior designer, graduated from Parsons School of Design with honors. 3-year relationship with Jason Matthews ended 8 months ago. Invested $198,000 into a boutique partnership with former roommate Claire Dennison, which collapsed leaving you with all the debts. Currently facing foreclosure, collection agencies, and bankruptcy. Elena's blood ran cold. "You investigated me?" "Obviously." Damien showed no remorse. "I do not conduct business without thorough research. When I saw your name on the Matthews-Ashford wedding guest list, yes, I have access to such lists, and learned about your situation, I saw an opportunity." "Opportunity." Anger began replacing shock in Elena's chest. "You used me. That scene at the wedding was calculated." "Yes." He cut her off without hesitation. "By tomorrow morning, we will be trending on every social media platform. Billionaire crashes society wedding for mystery woman. It is the perfect start to our narrative." "Our narrative," Elena repeated, incredulous. "You are completely ruthless." "I am pragmatic." Damien leaned forward, his gaze intense. And you are too intelligent to let pride destroy the best opportunity you will have to escape the financial disaster you are drowning in. The silence that followed was heavy. Elena wanted to throw the whiskey in his arrogant face and storm out. But he was right. Terribly, cruelly right. She was drowning, and he was offering a lifeline, even if it came with strings attached. "What exactly are you proposing?" she asked quietly. Damien's expression shifted to satisfaction. He knew he had her hooked. 6 months pretending to be my girlfriend. Public appearances at events, dinners, business functions, charity galas. Active social media presence. You will need to appear convincingly in love with me, and I will reciprocate in public. He paused. In exchange, I pay off all your debts immediately. Every penny. And I offer you a legitimate position as senior design consultant for Cross Properties luxury division. Salary of $30,000 per month, plus full benefits. Elena's head spun. $30,000 a month. Her debts erased. A real career opportunity, not just scraping by with freelance projects. It seemed impossible. Why should I trust you? Damien slid a thick document across the table. Because we will have an ironclad contract drafted by the best attorneys in New York. Everything detailed: debt payment before we begin, confidentiality clauses, breach of contract penalties. You will be legally protected. Elena picked up the contract. It was real. Pages of legal terminology, specific clauses, protection for both parties. This was not some casual arrangement. This was a business deal. And after 6 months, she asked. We stage an amicable breakup. Irreconcilable differences, conflicting schedules, the usual reasons. Joint public statement. No drama. You keep your position at Cross Properties for as long as you want it. We both move on with our lives. It sounded too simple. Too clean. There must be rules. Naturally. Damien crossed his arms. Rule 1, in public, we are a couple deeply in love. Physical affection is necessary. Hand-holding, embraces, kisses when appropriate. Rule 2, in private, we maintain professional boundaries. No confusion between performance and reality. Rule 3, absolute confidentiality. No one can know this arrangement is fake. Not your friends, not your family, no one. Rule 4, Elena interrupted, her voice firm. No romantic involvement. No actual feelings. Something flickered in Damien's amber eyes, gone before she could identify it. Exactly. This is business, Elena. Not a fairy tale. She should refuse. She should have enough self-respect to walk away from this morally questionable proposition. But then she remembered the collection calls, the eviction notice, the humiliation at the wedding, Rita Matthews's cruel words about her background. The weight of failure crushing her every single day. Elena lifted her chin and met Damien's gaze directly. I want to see proof of the debt payment before I sign anything. And I want a clause guaranteeing that if you breach the agreement, I receive compensation of $750,000. A genuine smile crossed Damien's face, something that might have been respect. You learn quickly. He extended his hand. Do we have an agreement? Elena looked at that hand. It represented salvation wrapped in deception. It was wrong in ways she could not fully articulate. But it was also her only way out of the hole she had fallen into. She shook his hand. We have an agreement. The next morning, Elena woke in the guest suite of Damien's penthouse. The room was twice the size of her entire apartment, with a king-sized bed, a private bathroom with a soaking tub, and windows overlooking Central Park. For a moment, she thought she had dreamed everything. Then she saw the contract on the nightstand, signed by both of them. Her phone was exploding with notifications. She picked it up with trepidation and immediately wished she had not. The internet had erupted. Photos and videos from the wedding were everywhere. The kiss. The dramatic exit. Speculation ran wild. Mystery woman steals Damien Cross's heart. Billionaire crashes wedding for love. Who is Elena Rivera? Her social media accounts had gained thousands of followers overnight. Her phone buzzed with calls from old friends, distant relatives, people she had not spoken to in years, all wanting to know if it was real. A knock on the door interrupted her panic. "Come in," she called. Damien entered, already dressed in a charcoal suit, looking like he had stepped out of a business magazine. "Good, you are awake. We have a busy day. Marcus will take you shopping for appropriate wardrobe. Everything will be charged to the company account. Tonight we have dinner at Le Bernardin with my business partners." "Tonight?" Elena's voice came out higher than intended. "I have not even had coffee yet. Coffee is in the kitchen. Marcus is my personal assistant. He will handle your schedule, transportation, everything you need." Damien's tone was brisk, all business. "The funds for your debts have been transferred. Check your accounts. Your car is being delivered this afternoon, a Mercedes, suitable for your new position. Questions?" Elena's mind was spinning. This was really happening. What do I tell people? My friends? They will have questions. Tell them we met 6 weeks ago at a gallery opening. Kept it private initially. Decided to go public at the wedding because I could not stand seeing you hurt. He paused at the door. Stick to the story. Do not deviate. Consistency is crucial. Then he was gone, leaving Elena alone in the luxury suite, her life completely transformed in less than 24 hours. The first week was surreal. Marcus, a efficient man in his 40s, took Elena to exclusive boutiques where sales associates treated her like royalty the moment they heard she was Damien Cross's girlfriend. Her wardrobe expanded to include designer dresses, tailored business suits, shoes that cost more than her old monthly rent. She started her position at Cross Properties, working with the design team on luxury residential projects. The work was challenging and creatively fulfilling in ways her failed boutique never had been. Her colleagues treated her with professional respect, though she caught curious glances and heard whispered conversations that stopped when she entered rooms. But it was the public appearances that truly tested her. Damien was meticulous about their performance. At a charity auction for pediatric cancer research, he kept his hand on the small of her back, leaned in to whisper comments about the artwork, bid $20,000 on a sculpture simply because Elena mentioned she liked it. To everyone watching, they were a couple completely absorbed in each other. "You are doing well," he murmured during the auction. "Natural but not overdone." "Years of pretending to be fine when I was falling apart," Elena replied quietly. "I have had practice." Something shifted in his expression, but before she could identify it, they were approached by an older couple. Introductions were made, small talk exchanged, and the performance continued. The turning point came during a weekend trip to Damien's family estate in the Hamptons. The property was breathtaking, a sprawling mansion on the beach, manicured gardens, a private dock. They arrived Friday evening, and Elena was surprised to find they would be alone. No staff, no business associates. "I come here when I need to think," Damien explained, showing her to the guest room. No interruptions. That night, they ate dinner on the terrace overlooking the ocean. The food was simple, pasta and wine, and for the first time, Damien seemed less like the ruthless businessman and more like an actual person. "Can I ask you something?" Elena ventured. "Why do you really avoid relationships? It cannot just be about business pressure." Damien was quiet for a long moment, swirling wine in his glass. "I was engaged once. 7 years ago. Her name was Catherine. We met in college, planned our future together." His voice was carefully neutral. 3 weeks before the wedding, she died in a car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light. Elena felt her breath catch. Damien, I am so sorry. After that, I threw myself into building the business. It was easier than feeling anything. Safer. He met her eyes. Relationships are vulnerabilities. Weaknesses that can be exploited or destroyed. I decided I was better off without them. That is a lonely way to live. Perhaps. But it is predictable. Controllable. He stood abruptly. We should get some rest. Early morning tomorrow. But as Elena lay in bed that night, she could not stop thinking about what he had revealed. Beneath the cold businessman exterior was someone who had been hurt deeply and had built walls to protect himself. It made him human in a way that was dangerously appealing. She reminded herself firmly, this was fake. A business arrangement. Nothing more. But her heart was starting to disagree. The 4th month of their arrangement arrived with autumn colors painting Central Park. Elena had settled into her dual role, successful design consultant by day, Damien Cross's devoted girlfriend by night. The media loved them. Every appearance generated headlines. Their social media posts received millions of likes. To the world, they were the perfect power couple. But something had shifted between them, subtle but undeniable. It started with small moments. Damien bringing her coffee in the morning, remembering she liked it with cream and 1 sugar. Elena leaving design sketches for his new hotel project on his desk, knowing he appreciated her input. Conversations that stretched past midnight about everything from architecture to childhood memories. Touches that lingered a fraction too long to be purely professional. You are getting too comfortable, Marcus warned her one afternoon at the office. I have worked for Damien for 8 years. I have never seen him like this with anyone. Like what? Elena asked, though her heart was already racing. Like he actually cares. That evening, Elena and Damien attended a gala at the Museum of Modern Art. She wore a stunning black gown with a plunging neckline, her hair swept up elegantly. Damien could not seem to stop looking at her, and it was not for the cameras. You look incredible, he murmured as they entered the museum, his hand warm against her bare back. Thank you, Elena replied, hyper-aware of his touch. You clean up pretty well yourself. They mingled with guests, played their parts perfectly. But Elena noticed Damien was more attentive than usual, keeping her close, his eyes following her even when talking to others. When a photographer asked for a photo, Damien pulled her against him and kissed her temple with a tenderness that felt entirely too real. The evening took a dark turn when they encountered Trevor Blackwood, one of Damien's business rivals, near the sculpture gallery. Damien Cross, Trevor said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. And the famous Elena Rivera. Such a charming couple. Trevor, Damien's voice cooled several degrees. I did not expect to see you here. Oh, I would not miss it. Especially not when there is such interesting news circulating. Trevor's gaze fixed on Elena with predatory interest. You know, I have friends who work in investigative journalism. They have been looking into your relationship. Such a fascinating timeline. Meeting just weeks before that dramatic wedding scene. Almost too convenient. Elena felt ice slide down her spine. Damien's hand tightened on her waist. Careful, Trevor, Damien said quietly, dangerously. Accusations without evidence can be very costly. Who said anything about accusations? I am simply observing. Trevor smiled wider. But if certain information were to become public, well, that would be unfortunate for both of you. Your business partners might lose faith in your judgment, Damien. And Elena, your new career would evaporate rather quickly, I imagine. He walked away, leaving the threat hanging in the air. He knows, Elena whispered, her voice shaking. Or at least he suspects. He has nothing concrete, Damien replied, but she could hear the tension in his voice. Just suspicions and circumstantial timing. But we need to be more careful. That night, back at the penthouse, the weight of Trevor's threat hung between them. Elena paced the living room while Damien poured whiskey with controlled movements. "This was always a risk," he said finally. "The contract has provisions for this situation." "Provisions?" Elena stopped pacing. "What provisions?" "If our arrangement is exposed before the 6 months end, we both lose. My business partners will feel manipulated. Your position at the company becomes untenable." He met her eyes. "We need to make this more convincing. More real." "How much more real can we make it?" Elena's frustration bubbled over. "We are already together constantly. Everyone believes we are in love." "Not everyone. Trevor suspects because he sees the calculation. We need to remove the calculation." Damien set down his glass. "We need to stop treating this like a performance." The air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Elena's heart was pounding. "What are you saying?" "I am saying," Damien crossed the room slowly, stopping just inches from her, "that somewhere in the last 4 months, this stopped being fake for me. And I think it stopped being fake for you too." Elena's breath caught. She should deny it. Should remind him of Rule 4. No feelings. No romantic involvement. But she was tired of lying, especially to herself. "You are right," she whispered. "It stopped being fake. I do not know when exactly, but it did." Damien's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. "Then maybe we stop pretending. Not for the cameras or the contract. For us." "That was not part of the agreement," Elena said, but she was already leaning into his touch. "Then we make a new agreement." His lips were a breath away from hers. "One that is real." When he kissed her this time, it was nothing like the calculated kiss at the wedding or the practiced kisses for photographers. This was raw, honest, filled with months of suppressed emotion. Elena's hands fisted in his shirt as his arms wrapped around her, pulling her flush against him. The kiss deepened, becoming desperate, years of loneliness and walls crumbling between them. They broke apart, both breathing hard. "This complicates everything," Elena said, her forehead resting against his. "I know." Damien's smile was crooked, almost vulnerable. But simple was overrated anyway. The next few weeks were a revelation. Without the pretense, their relationship transformed. They still maintained public appearances, but now the affection was genuine. Damien opened up about his past, about Catherine, about the pressure that had driven him to build walls. Elena shared her own fears about failure, about never being good enough, about the insecurity that Jason had left behind. They spent lazy Sunday mornings in bed, talking for hours. Damien took her to his favorite hidden spots in the city, places he had never shown anyone. Elena introduced him to her small circle of real friends, watching as he awkwardly but genuinely tried to connect with people outside his usual business sphere. "He makes you happy," Mia observed one afternoon over coffee. "Actually happy. I have not seen you like this in years." "He does," Elena admitted. "It is terrifying how much he does. But happiness made you vulnerable, and vulnerability could be weaponized." 3 days before their 6-month contract was set to expire, Elena received an envelope at the office. Inside was a single photograph, her and Damien signing the original contract, taken from someone's phone camera. Attached was a note in typed letters. "Meet me at the Gramercy Park Hotel rooftop bar tonight at 9 p.m. Come alone or this photo goes public. Trevor." Elena's hands shook as she read it. Trevor had proof. Actual evidence of their arrangement. If it went public now, it would destroy everything. Damien's business relationships, her career, their actual relationship that had grown from the fake one. She could tell Damien. Should tell him. But she knew he would confront Trevor directly, and that would only escalate the situation. So Elena made a decision. She would handle this herself. That evening, she arrived at the rooftop bar wearing a simple black dress, her heart pounding. Trevor was waiting at a corner table with a view of the glittering city. "Elena, so glad you could make it." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Drink? What do you want, Trevor?" Elena remained standing. "Direct." "I appreciate that." Trevor leaned back. "I want you to convince Damien to step back from the Hudson Yards development project. If he does, this photo never sees daylight. If he does not, well, the internet loves a scandal. That project is worth hundreds of millions. You are asking him to walk away from one of the biggest deals of his career. I am asking you to convince him." Trevor's smile was cold. "Unless you would rather explain to the world that your relationship was purchased like one of his properties." Elena felt rage and fear warring inside her. "And if I refuse? Then you both lose everything. His reputation, your career, the relationship you actually developed. Because that is real now, is it not? I can see it. Which makes this so much more delicious." Before Elena could respond, a familiar voice cut through the night air. "She is not going to convince me of anything." Elena whirled around. Damien stood at the entrance to the rooftop, his expression carved from stone. Behind him was Marcus, holding a phone. Trevor's confident smirk faltered. "Damien. I was not expecting you." "Clearly." Damien walked forward, positioning himself beside Elena. "Elena texted Marcus when she received your note. Smart woman. We have been recording this entire conversation. Blackmail and extortion. Serious charges." Trevor's face paled. "You cannot prove anything." "Actually, we can." "Marcus?" Marcus stepped forward, turning his phone screen toward Trevor. The entire conversation was captured clearly, including Trevor's explicit blackmail demand. "Here is how this will work," Damien continued, his voice deadly calm. "You will delete that photo and any copies. You will withdraw your competing bid on the Hudson Yards project. And you will never approach Elena or me again. In exchange, we do not press charges or share this recording with your business partners and investors." "You cannot do this," Trevor sputtered, but the defeat was already clear in his eyes. "I just did." "You have 24 hours to comply." Damien took Elena's hand. "We are leaving now. Do not contact us again." They left Trevor sitting alone on the rooftop, his blackmail scheme demolished. In the car, Elena finally let out the breath she had been holding. "You followed me." "I know you better than you think," Damien said quietly. "I knew you would try to handle it yourself. I know you would try to protect me. You would have done the same." "Exactly." He pulled her close. "We protect each other. That is what real partners do." 2 days later, on what would have been the official end of their contract, Damien took Elena back to the Hamptons estate. They walked along the beach at sunset, waves lapping at their feet. "So our contract expires tomorrow," Damien said conversationally. "According to the terms, we stage an amicable breakup." Elena's heart clenched despite knowing where this was going. "According to the terms, yes. I have a counter-proposal." Damien stopped walking and turned to face her, taking both her hands. "Tear up the contract. All of it. Start over with something real. No performance, no timeline, no rules about not falling in love." He smiled. "Though we already broke that rule spectacularly." "Spectacularly," Elena agreed, her throat tight with emotion. "Are you sure? This is not what you planned." "Plans change. People change." Damien's amber eyes were soft, vulnerable in a way she never thought possible. "You changed me, Elena. You made me remember that life is not just about control and protection. Sometimes you have to take risks on things that matter. You matter to me, Elena said, tears beginning to fall. You matter so much. Then say yes. Not to a contract. Just to us. To whatever this becomes. Elena laughed through her tears. Yes. Absolutely yes. When Damien kissed her this time, there were no cameras, no audience, no ulterior motives. Just two people who had found each other in the most unexpected way and chosen to build something real from a foundation of pretense. 6 months later, Elena stood in a design studio filled with afternoon light, putting final touches on her first independent project since relaunching her business. Damien had backed her financially, but the vision was all hers. The space would showcase emerging interior designers, giving them the platform she never had. It looks perfect, Damien said from the doorway, and Elena turned to smile at him. You are biased. Extremely. He crossed the room and wrapped his arms around her. But also correct. Elena leaned back against him, feeling contentment settle in her bones. Her life had transformed completely from that day at the wedding when she thought she had hit rock bottom. She had learned that sometimes the worst moments open doors to the best possibilities. That fake could become real. That walls could come down. That love could grow in the most unexpected places. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For crashing that wedding. For the proposition. For being ruthless and calculating enough to see an opportunity. She turned in his arms. For becoming someone real. Damien smiled, that genuine smile reserved only for her. Thank you for taking the chance. For seeing past the walls. For teaching me that control is not the same as living. As the sun set over the city they both loved, casting golden light through the studio windows, Elena realized that sometimes the best stories were the ones you never saw coming. The ones that started with humiliation and ended with hope. The ones that reminded you that life could surprise you, transform you, save you. All it took was one ruthless billionaire, one fake relationship, and the courage to let something real grow from the pretense. And that was the beginning of their real story, the one they would write together, without contracts or timelines or rules. Just two people choosing each other, every single day.